Hey everyone, I think I said that too soon. It's Amy and Tabitha again from Authors Buzz. And today we are talking about querying. So we talked about last week, we talked about if you want to go the route of traditional publishing, you need a literary agent. To get a literary agent, you query, you send out usually emails or go through Query Tracker. Hey Tab.
Hello. Yes, querying. We've all done it. Mostly, most of us have done it. I mean, if you've gone straight to the self-publishing and you knew that's what you wanted to do, and some younger writers or that have, just started writing within the last 7 or 10 years may have chosen right out of the gate that they're not going the traditional route. But a lot of people still do. And so it's really worthwhile, I think, to know how to approach the process and what you need to do. And so that's what we'll talk a little bit about today. And I would start by saying that you do need to do your homework about what agent is a good fit for you. Not every agent represents what you write. So there are some really good tools out there now that weren't out even back when I was querying years ago, a few years ago, last year. No, I'm just kidding. It was a while ago. But manuscript wish list and query tracker.
My manuscript wish list. So it's MMWL.
Yes. And so when you go on there, the agents are actually telling you what they're looking for. And so then you can grab that agent's name and their contact, and then you can go and do a little further research on them. Manuscript Query Tracker is the portal, I would guess you would call it, on which most agents accept work through. So you can go on there and actually look them up by genre, look them up by agency, and then you can actually do submissions through Query Tracker. Some on their website, right? If you go to, say, like a big literary website like Trident Publishing or whatever, and you go and you're looking at the back with their gazillion of literary agents, and you find one that says, oh, represents, cozy mysteries. That's what I write. Yay. And you can look at them, and some will say submit here under this email, and I want this, and this, and others will say go through Query Tracker, right? And they'll
Well,
direct you
Query
that.
Tracker, just to be clear, because I'm in the midst of that right now, Query Tracker has almost all agents on there. Some you can submit right through Query Tracker, and some will have the information page and the email, but they'll still be on there. So you can still find almost all agents there, even if you aren't able to submit
Through the
right
portal,
through,
right?
right through that
It's a
form.
nice tool. It's very
Yeah,
helpful because
it's
in the
like a
past,
house. It's really helpful because it lets you know who you sent the things to, because
right, you can keep track of it.
it's difficult to keep track of all of
Yes.
it.
You think it's not gonna be. You think, oh, I know exactly where I'm sending, but you send so many out. It's a game of numbers too. You're gonna send out so many that if you're not keeping track yourself on a spreadsheet or using the Query Tracker tool, you could easily be like, wait a minute, did I send it to them or didn't I? Did I finish, submitting that one or didn't I? So it's a really good thing. You need to be super organized. I also would suggest, so now let's say you've got a good list of maybe 25 to 50 agents, probably more, but
You're going to need to
you're going to
start.
need more. But to start, let's just start small, and you're gonna kind of make your list, and you're gonna start sending out your submission package, which we'll talk about in a second, your query package, which we'll talk about in a minute. um you may want to do them in batches. I've been given that advice, and it actually worked for me back when I was querying, because sometimes you will get feedback from an agent, and it will be useful feedback. Many, many times you won't even get an answer. They'll say, if you haven't heard from us in 3 months, it's a no. Or if you haven't ever heard, if you don't ever hear from us, it's a no. But some of them will reply one way or another. Sometimes it's a form letter. Just thank you for your, it doesn't fit my needs at the moment of the list. Good luck, whatever. Some of them have a little more detail, but every once in a while, someone will give you good feedback that you want to take to heart, and then you can make some adjustments before you send out your next batch, right? So you're not making a mistake that maybe is something that you didn't realize was a mistake, or that your manuscript wasn't quite ready at a certain place that you thought it was. So do it in batches. Research your agents, make sure you're sending the right stuff to the right agent. Also think about the fact that they sometimes want different things. Now, there's standard query letter formula. We're not going to really talk about that, other than to say, Amy, what's in a standard query letter? Because this,
Oh yeah, we can do it in 2 seconds.
yes,
So basically the basic formula they want is your first thing is, so your first thing is maybe there's 1 or 2 sentences of personalized introduction. Then after that, it is a log line, which sums up your entire book in 1 sentence. It's like what, like not even like, you know what it is? It's what would be on Netflix, which we actually should write because like most of them are absolute crap. Like like what the show is, like that, right? That one line. Then after that, you want to have your paragraph, which has word count and genre, like absolutely. And then you fit that in hopefully into like a little bit of a salesy pitch that isn't too much selling, but you try to pull out some things that make your book unique and make it stand out there. Then paragraph 3 is a very short, like book jacket thing. And then is that paragraph? Yeah, 1. Where are we? 2, 3. The third paragraph is your bio. You know what you've published, what, and I guess I mean tab. I mean, you want to have stuff in there that has something to do with books and writing. So that's
this
something.
isn't a resume for a job, you know, that you want to, I waited tables at, you know, for 6 years at whatever, or I'm an engineer. Well, some things might be interesting. Like if you have a particular expertise, like I write science fiction and I'm an aerospace engineer, that might be a useful piece of information to put in your bio. So what a good thing to do, there's so much information on the internet, like about querying and writing a good query letter. And there's lots of sample query letters out there, and you can kind of read them and say, and you get a sense of, wow, that one was really catchy. You know, like I'd read that book, or I'd want to look again at that one. And then there's just sort of like dull ones that you're like, whatever, they follow the formula, but there's nothing really pizzazzy about it. So, you know, you want to work on your query letter. You're going to work on your query letter for quite a while, and you might even have a couple of, you know, incarnations of it where you're, you know, testing the efficacy to, you know, send it to a few friends or your beta readers and be like, which one pops for you, you know? But you do need to keep to the formula for the most part, because the agents do need that information. That's important to them. They need to know that you understand, generally speaking, what genre you're writing in and what the appropriate length in that genre is, and that you understand how to craft this pitch essentially. So and your query itself is a short little sample of your writing style and who you are. So it's you pitching yourself in a way, as well as your book. So take some time with that, do your homework, you know, get yourself a really good, you know, well edited, well vetted query letter before you start querying. Know who you're going to query to, at least start your preliminary list of maybe 25 to 50 agents, and then you can begin the process. Often they will want a sample, a chapter, 50 pages, first 3 chapters. Read what they want, make sure that's what you send them. If you send a whole manuscript and they only requested the first 10 pages, it's usually an auto reject.
It's usually an automatic no. Anytime you give them something they don't want or you don't listen to them, like they're not going to give you.
They have so many in their lineup that they just don't have the time to sort through and be like, okay, this outlier thinks they're better than everybody else, right? Or just it made you, you know, the mistake put you into the wrong pile because you didn't follow the technical instructions and it got auto deleted or whatever. A lot of them won't take attachments if you're sending directly to email. You have to paste it into the email, which makes for all kinds of weird formatting things. But you know, they don't want attachments because it's
they don't care so much. So when you're pasting into email or when you're pasting to Query Tracker, how it pulls is not.
They know that it's got.
They know it's gonna wonk out. I mean, look through it, and if it's totally crazy, you can do a couple things. But when I paste in, if they're asking for like 3 chapters, and let's just say it doesn't indent the first, you know, I don't go indenting because the paragraphs are clear by the way it is. Like they just want to see what your story is. But
yes. So
listen, it's like listening skills. If you can't show you have listening skills, how are you going to work with an agent?
Right. Yeah, if you can't follow directions, you know, and that's, and I remember a long, long time ago when I finished my first draft of my first novel, I did a little homework on agents and I found an agency and I was like, oh, they're perfect. I love them. They're going to love me. And I wrote this wonky query letter. I don't even know what I was thinking. It was totally not a query letter. It was like, and probably it was probably interesting and funny. And if somebody read it, they'd be like, this girl has no idea what she's doing, but it's kind of cute. But I'm sure it just got an auto reject. It did get an auto reject. I got like a rejection like 20 minutes later. So it was like not formatted right. Whoever's reading the initial batch of queries for that agency was like, no, and so don't waste your agent. Don't waste an opportunity by not following directions, right? That's a silly reason to get rejected. The other thing is make sure that your manuscript is in good shape. So if you do get a request or you do have to copy in some of it or whatever, that it's formatted correctly. You want to go online and double check that. But as far as I am concerned, it's double spaced, Times New Roman, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, right? And you have your and you have your, in the header and the footer, the page numbers, and then your name and the book title. So just make sure don't make that another reason why people are like, auto reject. This one looks like a blog post, with it needs to be in that manuscript format. So have that ready anyway, because as you're querying, you want to be ready. If somebody asks you for the next piece, you want to be ready to submit it. What else should we talk
And
about?
all the formatting things are found online. We'll try to
Yes.
get something up on authorsbuzz.com just for reference, even if it's with links, we'll try to get something up. The other thing that they're going to ask, most people are going to ask for either through Query Tracker or through an email, or I would say at least half is a synopsis.
Oh, yes, the dreaded
That's
synopsis.
usually
1 to 2
most people
pages.
want 2 pages.
Mhm.
And it is double spaced, and that's where it is the whole book, spoilers, ending, and all of it. And the one piece of advice I give about that is there's no way you're going to be able to get all important details into 2 pages. So you need to solidify for yourself what makes this book essential. And you also kind of want to have the marketing brain in the back of you. What are the selling points to this book, and how do I get them into this synopsis to showcase how it's interesting and different, while also honestly telling the story as best I can and leaving a shit ton out.
Exactly. It's so hard to do. It's really hard to do. But it's a skill and you can do it. We've all had to do it. I've had to do it with several books and no fun. I even had to do a chapter by chapter synopsis for my agent, which woof, that's a lot of work too. Mostly they don't ask for that up front. Usually that's not a thing that you have to submit on the front end. So that's a nice thing.
The other thing that you'll often need is, and this is usually in the query letter, or they'll ask for it separately, but it's good to have in that first paragraph where you're talking about your genre, your word count, you should throw in 2 or 3 similar books.
Yeah, comps are nice if they're very, very obvious comps and they're or relevant or recent or even like, something that people would.
It's not the same story. It has to be the same kind of scope.
Like if you liked this, you would like that, kind of thing. Or if you are a reader of, the Dresden Files, you would like this one.
Recommend going more toward the humble side. So if you were to phrase it something like, fans of blah 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 and blah 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 are likely to like the name of your book because of its why. Versus they're gonna, ones that love this, it's just like, it's just bullshit. Like, you don't know, like, just, I think being respectful of how many letters these people are getting and how everybody thinks their book is fantastic. I think it sets you apart to kind of be not confident, but kind of a little, tone that down a little. You know, I did see on Instagram, one of the big literary agencies who gives tips. They were like, don't say in your query letter that your beta readers loved it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. But if your work is commercial, say that. A highly commercial work, like whatever it is. And then the other thing that some people want on Query Tracker is that if you haven't included that 1-line log line in your query letter, they want that separate. And some people want that pitch as a little bit of a longer thing. So 2-3 sentences. So, and sometimes you're in the middle of this and there's a thing and you're like, crap, I don't have that. And you have to go write that and then come back and then do that query. So
and know that we've all been there and that it's a long, tedious process that can take years to acquire an agent. So just go in eyes wide open, that it's not, I know, it's, we don't want to say that and just, be like discouraging, but it's the long game. You're in this for the long game. And you, once you get that first book out, and it's out of you and you're out of the creative process, you do need to think a little strategically, and you do need to think a little realistically, which is, it's an industry now. You're in the industry side of the house. And so you need to be thinking that way. You also need to be thinking long game strategies. What am I, how am I pitching this? What's my plan as a writer? And just, it's hopefully not one and out, right? So we'll talk more next week about that too, what to do while you're.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, and the truth is, Tabitha and I are here to help you. So I think I said it last week, like this is not meant to be discouraging. It's actually meant to, be on your side, to offer like that support of, hey, like we're in this together. This is what it's like. Anybody who sells anything to you, like that is like, if you go through them or buy their service or do this, it's going to be a quicker process. Like that is so not the truth. No. This is the process. You could get lucky and you could hit the right agent at the right time with your idea. It's exactly what they're looking for. It could be very swift for you. That is absolutely true, but you are better served to look at it as a marathon, not a sprint, and to just keep on going.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have to love it enough. So,
and there's very little instances, very few instances of overnight success for anybody. Even if a first book, a debut novel, gets picked up by an agent and does get published, which of course it happens, debut novels get published all the time. More likely, what seems like a debut novel is actually that person's third or fourth or fifth that finally got the agent, that finally got the, and that's okay. And we'll talk more about that next week. It doesn't mean that you have to, toss this book that you've, labored for a year on or 2 years or whatever. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means have realistic expectations from the business side of things, which is, some of it's out of your hands now, but do all you can to position yourself and to be as professional and to put yourself in the best light possible to be noticed that you can, right? I would say that's my.
Yeah, for sure. And we do it, the truth is we do it because we can't not, like that's, if you are writing, that's where you have to be coming from sure. And next week, we are going to be talking about I think we just said it, like, okay, so you've sent these letters out, like what's next? What might you be asked for? How do you deal with the no's? What do no's look like? And what Tabitha was saying earlier, when you do get notes, what to do with those, how to handle, if you happen to get notes. I think we both have. So
we have.
It can be really depressing and wonderful at the same time. We can talk about that more.
Absolutely. All right. Well, until next time.
I love talking to you. Hopefully you guys love listening to us. And
hopefully this is useful.
We do hope to do this live at some point so that you can ask questions.
Right. We were going to figure that out. We definitely are.
Yeah. We've got our own.
But that day was not today.